Hello there. This is the first video in the Learn Chess Fundamentals from Paul Morphy series. If you don't know what this series is all about, then please check the video below and you will find the introductory video as well as the link to the whole video series. This video is titled Opening Rule Number 1, Open with the Center Pawn. It's self-explanatory. It says that you should always play with your pawn in the opening, and you should put your pawn in the center. As you probably know, a fight for the center is all what chess is about in the opening stage of the game. So whoever controls the center will eventually end up with a better position. And also it is very important, and one way to control the center is to have your pawn in the center, one or two pawns. And this is very important in the chess game. And maybe you can use one image to see why this is important, just to imagine something. So imagine that chess is not a flat board like it is. Just imagine that it is like a hill, and the center is the top of the hill. So whoever has the high ground, whoever occupies the high ground of the hill, will obviously have advantage in the battle. And if you don't understand why is that so, that I can recommend you to watch the episode 3 in the Star Wars, and you will see why having the high ground is so important. Okay. So let's go switch to the board and let's get right into the game. Okay, so just a few words about this game. So this white is Paul Morphy, black is Dr. Jabez Carr. He's not very famous in chess world. He was probably just some local guy who knew the rules of chess, so he applied for this simul. But nevertheless, he managed to enter into chess history because he has an opening name after him. So this defense which he plays is called Carr defense. It's not very good defense, but what can you do? You have the opening name after you, and I guess it's good. So this was this blindfold simul played in Birmingham in 1858. Paul Morphy played as white, as I said. Okay, so the game starts, and Paul Morphy plays 1e4, as he almost always does. I talked about in my opening video, which you'll also find the link below. I talk about this e4 move, and I talk how this move is the best move in the opening, and the move which I personally advocate and recommend you to play. I mentioned several reasons about why I think you should play this move. So let's just say a few more things about this. So by playing e4, first of all, you put your pawn in the center, and you control one center square, which is very good. Also, this move does something which no other move does, okay, except e3, but you don't want to play e3, is that it activates two pieces at one stroke. So you have this bishop, and you have this queen, which are very active, and they control huge number, lots of squares. Okay, so this is what this move does, and this is why this move is traditionally considered the best first move for white. I also talked in my opening video that this move creates early tactical opportunities, and this is because if you see that this pawn is not defended, so once white plays e4, black can immediately start thinking how to attack this pawn, and he can be thinking tactically from the first move, and then you have to consider his tactical opportunities and so on. In contrast, Capablanca he liked this move d4, and his argument was that this is the best move because the queen is guarding this pawn d4. And this is why when you open with d4, there are not many tactical opportunities early in the game, because this pawn is not a target early on. And you can see, based on the classical chess principles, that this move d4 is weaker than its counterpart, e4, because it activates only one piece, and this is this dark square bishop, while the queen, it's not so active, it has only two squares to move. So this is why e4 is a move which is more according to the general chess principle. It just opens two pieces into one stroke. Okay, now Carr defends with h6, unfamous Carr defense, and of course this move is very weak. It basically it does nothing. It does nothing what it should be doing in the opening. So in the opening you want to fight for the center, and you also want to help your pieces develop like Paul Morphy did with his e4 move. This move does nothing of the sort, so it's a bad move. So what should Morphy do? Okay, this d4 square is available, and Black is giving him opportunity to capture the center, so Paul Morphy, without any hesitation, played d4. Carr continues in his style, and he plays a5. Again, doing nothing for the reasons I already said. And now interesting move by Morphy. Morphy develops his bishop to d3, so he plays bishop d3, violating the principle that you should develop knights before bishops. So according to this principle, if you want to develop your kingside pieces, then you should first develop your kingside knight and then your kingside bishop. But in this case, there are good reasons to break this rule. First of all, Paul Morphy has this strong center, so he's immediately thinking about making pawn advances in the future, like c4 and f4, grabbing even more space in the center, and maybe doing some pawn breaks if he wanted to open the position, because he'll probably be better developed in this position. And this is why he didn't want to develop his knight to f3, because it will just block the f4 pawn, and he also didn't want to develop his knight to e2 before the bishop, because then the bishop will obviously be blocked. Okay, so why here, why not here or here, on c4 or b5? Well, because if by playing bishop to c4 he will block his c pawn, and he doesn't want to do that, and by playing bishop to b5, sorry, he will be easily harassed by black just by playing c6. Okay, so you can see in this move, this is only move 3, but how good the understanding of chess was by Paul Morphy. So this early in the game, he immediately sees that he will have the central advantage, and he starts to think how to punish black for playing such ridiculous moves. So he immediately thinks about expanding in the center with his pawn, about pawn breaks, and everything else. Okay, black continues with b6. Now he's playing, let's say, some kind of hyper-modern style. He's trying to attack the center with his pieces rather than his pawns. And Morphy continues according to his plan. He develops his knight to e2. Now Carr goes e6, controlling at least one central square. Morphy castles, and Carr develops his bishop to a6, offering the exchange. Now the question is, should White accept this exchange? And the answer is no, because there is a well-known chess principle: when you have more space, and here Morphy obviously does, and when you are overdeveloped, as Morphy is in this position, then you should avoid changes. And on the other hand, if you have less space, like black has here, and if you are underdeveloped, like black is here, then you should seek for exchanges, because in a cramped position, your pieces step one on another, and they block each other's path. So you want to exchange the pieces, and then you will have less pieces, and it will be easier for you to play. Okay, so this is why black is wants to exchange pieces. But Morphy, although he didn't read any of the contemporary books stating these principles, he understands the chess well enough, so he plays c4 and declines the exchange. Black now develops his knight to f6, which is not the best move because this knight can be easily harassed by white by playing e5. But I guess Black thought that there is nothing better he can do. So his plan was probably when he is attacked by e5, then he can retreat to h7. Alternatively, Black could try to remove this e4 pawn and then develop his knight, but this would fail. And you can see, I will just show you one variation. What could Black do instead? So Black could have played d5, and now after the exchange, c takes d5, e takes d5, e takes d5 by white, and queen takes d5. And now this pawn on e4 is gone, and Black can develop his knight to f6. But this is very dangerous position because white can play rook to e1, and now he's threatening discovered check. He can play, for example, knight on f4, thus attacking the queen, and so on. So this is a very dangerous position. It's better to avoid, especially when you are playing Morphy. So Black plays knight to f6, and of course Morphy expands even more in the center, harassing the black knight with e5. And now knight goes to h7, only available square basically, and Morphy continues with his early plan, and he plays f4, completely dominating the center and grabbing more space in the center. Black continues with bishop e7, preparing for castle, and Morphy now plays knight to g3, thus violating the important opening principle, which states that you should not move any piece twice until you develop all your pieces. But in this particular position, it's more than justified because Morphy has the center. He has more space, so he has everything he needs to claim this superior position, and he can think about starting an attack. So he doesn't have to worry about developing these two pieces, this rook and the knight there, because he's probably thinking, I don't need these pieces. I have so my position is so superior that I can start the attack with whatever I have, since I completely dominate the center and the board. So he plays knight g3, and now he can think about bringing his queen to f3, so starting the attack, or maybe even to g4, and there is also a possibility to play queen c2, so to have this queen bishop battery, which in this concrete situation would not be so useful, because if white would take the knight on h7, then black could respond by playing g6 and trap the bishop. But okay, so there are plenty of opportunities which are opened by this move. Black now plays in the center, which actually is not so bad an idea. There is a general rule of thumb when somebody is attacking you on the wing, so you have here wing attack obviously, then you should respond by counter attack in the center. So this is what Carr does. Morphy continues his attack playing g4. Now he threatens to capture g7, and if black would allow white to capture on g7, then white would have double attack on the knight and rook, and he will probably end up winning lots of material. So black sees this threat and he castles. So now the g7 is defended, and now Morphy plays knight h5, threatening checkmate on g7. So please notice that almost every other move Morphy makes is some kind of threat. So he develops, he also organizes his attack by making small threats, and this is very important to remember and to apply in your own games. So when you are preparing attack, make small threats all the time. And now, okay, black has to respond somehow because he will get checkmated, so he plays g5, thus defending the checkmate. And Morphy takes this pawn, f takes g5, now threatening g takes h6 with a discovered check, and soon mate on g7. so black takes the pawn, and now Morphy takes h7 check, winning the knight. Black cannot recapture here because he will be checkmated. I can just briefly show this variation. So if black would recapture, then Morphy can play a knight f6 check. Bishop has to capture the knight. Morphy captures would recapture by the e-pawn, so he takes f6. And now black is very close to checkmate. He can try to avoid checkmate by playing Rook h8, thus allowing queen to join the defense, and also making freeing this square escape square for his king. But it doesn't help because white can play rook takes g5, and now he has mate in 3. If queen goes to f8, then he can just lift up his rook, and there will be soon a checkmate with rook on h3. Okay, so this is why black cannot take this bishop, and he plays king h8, and now already Paul Morphy is up material. He's a whole piece ahead. Okay, now Paul Morphy continues the attack. He plays knight f6, and black he doesn't know what to do, so he tries to have some counterplay by playing in the center. So he takes c4 pawn. And okay, and now the obvious move for Morphy, what I would probably do in this position without hesitation, is to play queen h5 and threatening this discard attack. But then black has one defense from this whole mating idea, and this is if white would play queen to h5, then black could take d5. Sorry, black would take d4 with check. Okay, and now white can either move his king, or he can block with his bishop, since black cannot take this bishop, because then this discard attack becomes a thing. So, but black can play queen h4, and thus stopping this all discard check idea. So instead of playing this, let's say, obvious move, Paul Morphy decided to follow Ben Feingold's famous rule, always retreat. So he retreated his bishop to c2. So he's not in the hurry. And this is also something we should learn from Paul Morphy. So when you have a strong attack, when you have a superiority on the board, then you don't have to hurry. You can just be calm and make quiet moves like this, and prepare your attack even better. Okay, black continues with his defensive ideas, so he takes d4 with check, and now notice that he checks and attacks the queen at the same time, so this forces queen exchange. So white takes the queen, of course, and this is a temporary sacrifice of the queen, because black has a pin in the next move, so now he's pinning queen to king, so this queen is gone. So Morphy takes the bishop, and Carr takes back with b takes c5. And now you can see, if you count the material, you can see, so this is equal, and you can see that Morphy has 2 extra pieces in this position, so he's completely winning. But he still wants to checkmate, and he wants to end this game in the style. He doesn't want to just play boring endgame. This is how Morphy played the chess. So Morphy brings his dark square bishop into attack by capturing on g5, and now black plays knight c6, probably hoping that he can put his knight on e7 and maybe defend this exposed king. And now Morphy plays his famous move, rook lift. He played this a lot of time, and of course today everybody knows about rook lift, about this idea to put your rook on the 3rd rank, and then this rook can do anything. But at this moment this idea was not so popular, and it was something which was for which Paul Morphy was known. So he played this rook lift, and now he's threatening h3 with a mating attack. So king plays g7 immediately, and now Morphy decides to sacrifice his bishop by playing bishop h6 check. Of course, he doesn't care about material, he's material ahead, but also he has this, he probably at this moment he calculated the bait, so he knew that if this king comes to the h square, it will be forcing mate, h line. So king captures the bishop, so now king is on h file, and then rook can deliver check. So rook h3 check, king has to go to g5, and now king starts to move towards the white camp, and he will be checkmated in the white camp. So Morphy continues, rook h5 check, king f4, and now Morphy plays quiet move king f2. And now notice that all the squares around the black king are occupied or controlled by white. So these two squares by king, this move by knight, this move also by knight, and these three squares by the rook. So black king has no space to go. That means that if you can check the king, that will be the checkmate. And of course white can check the king just by playing g3. Some sources say that this game ended at this point, that black just resigned, but some sources gives the game to the end, to the checkmate. So the only thing black can do now to stop the checkmate is to play rook g8. White plays, of course, g3 check. The only legal move is rook captures g3, and now h captures g3 with checkmate. Very nice checkmate with a pawn in the white's half of the board. Okay, so what are the lessons which we can take home from this game? So first, you should seize the better control of the center. You should put your pawns in the center, control the center squares. Then after you have the center, then you tend to develop your pieces. So try to develop your pieces as quickly as possible. And then after you develop your pieces, then open the lines for your heavy pieces in order to attack the king. And do this in that order. So first control the center, then develop pieces, then open up your the files for your heavy pieces so you can attack the king. And also when you open the files and when you organize the attack, then make moves with small threats. And in this way your opponent will have to answer these small threats, and you will be much stronger in organizing the attack. Okay, as I recommend in one of my previous videos, I always recommend to go through every game twice. So I will do this again. I will do this much quickly, so now you know what the game is about, and now you can just review the game, and it will be easier to memorize some of the key ideas in the game. Okay, so let's go quickly through the game one more time. So white plays e4, grabbing the center, and the black plays h6, the move which is not so good because it doesn't play in the center and it doesn't help developing his pieces. White plays d4, immediately grabbing the center. Black plays another bad move, a5, and now white develops with bishop d3, having this idea of advancing his c and f pawns in the future. Black plays b6, and white now develops his knight by playing knight to e2, again allowing the advancement of this f pawn. Black plays e6, controlling at least one center square. White castles, and black plays a6. Morphy declines the exchange because he has more space, he doesn't want to exchange pieces. And the black develops his knight to f6. White harasses this knight goes back to h7. It's not doing much on this square anyway. So white plays f4, continuing his advancement in the center, grabbing more space. White plays bishop e7, preparing to castle, and now white plays knight to g3, violating opening principles, but with full justification because he has this superior position, so he tries to think about attacking before he developed his pieces. Black responds by playing in the center. White continues organizing his attack, now threatening G7 with winning material with double attack. So black castles. White plays H5, threatening checkmate on G7. Black defends the checkmate. White captures. Black captures back, and now White takes this knight, and Black cannot capture because he will be checkmated. So Black king moves away. White continues the attack by playing knight to f6. Black is fighting for counterplay, but it's futile, and now White is in no hurry to continue the attack, but rather he retreats his bishop. He wants to organize his attack better. Black forces the exchange of queens by taking on d5 and checking White, so the queens are exchanged. And now White is 2 pieces up, but he still wants to deliver a checkmate, so he brings his dark square bishop in the game. Black tries to bring his knight in the defense, but it's too late. And now this famous rook uplift, threatening checkmate on h3. King moves. Now White sacrifices the bishop in order to have a black king on the h file. He takes. Now he just checks him on the h file. The king now walks over the board. Rook h5 check. King is on f4. Now the quiet move, king f2. Now all the squares around the enemy king are blocked. So all it remains is to deliver a check, and it will be a checkmate. So black tries to stop the checkmate. And g3 check, rook takes g3, and you have this knight checkmate with the pawn. Okay, I hope to find this video useful, and I will of course continue with this series. So this is first game. I plan to go through 60 games. So if you like this video, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, stay tuned for more videos, for more chess, and also make sure to check out the video description. You'll find some links and references connected to this video. So stay with me and see you next time. Cheers!